Hello there. Welcome back to the greatest era of the Pokemon TCG. My name is the Wizard, and today I'm going to do a real life deck profile for you guys. Hopefully I can figure out how to edit the video to make the cards a little bit bigger. I'll put pictures up on the screen if I can, because I'm imagining that the uh, quality of the picture will not be great and you won't be able to read what the card effects actually say. So this is a deck that I made for Nathaniel, which if you've watched my channel before, you would have seen these cards up close and personal in the past. I made a video using these cards to showcase other things. So let's just jump right in. The first line is the Nathaniel's Charizard line. He requested to be the fire type gym leader in my fictional Pokemon world, and the capstone of this is the Nathaniel's Charizard card, which, um, unlike the base set or even some of the other Charizards from the early Pokemon TCG, has no uh, Pokemon power. This card simply does damage and does a lot of it, hopefully. So the top attack is the Rage attack, which has a base of 20 damage, and then for each damage counter that is on Charizard, it does 10 more. And with an HP of 20, that could potentially cap out at over 100 damage for just 2 colorless energy. So that could be incredibly devastating late game. And then the second attack, Flare Blitz, which is similar to the fire spin of base set Charizard, doing 100 damage, but this time instead of discarding energy, Charizard does damage to itself, which synergizes well with that above Rage attack. Previous evolutions, not too much to write home about. Nathaniel's Charmeleon, very reminiscent of the base set Charmeleon. 2 attacks, slash and flamethrower. Flamethrower discards energy in order to use it, and then the Charmander does a 30 damage for 2 colorless. When asking Nathaniel about how he wanted his decks to play, he said, and this was a couple of years ago actually, so if he remembers this conversation and would like to change his answer, by all means, he has subscribed to the channel and watches these videos, so shout out, Coach. He said that he wants it to be very simple, straightforward, and do a lot of potential damage. So that is what we are going to see in his cards for the most part. So the other potential attacker is going to be the Arcanine line. And the unique thing about this card is it's got an attack that does non-fire damage. So the Wild Charge attack does 50 damage. It uses fire energy, but the text of the effect says that this attack does lightning type damage to the defending Pokemon, and Arcanine does 20 damage to itself. So in that way, it's a lot like the base set Arcanine with the takedown attack, as well as Flare Blitz doing a similar thing, but giving the opportunity to hit water type Pokemon for their weakness, that being the lightning type attack, because this deck has a weakness to water but has nothing other than this attack to try to deal with it. And it also has 2 colorless in its attack requirement, or the payment for it, in order to sort of reflect that this is not a fire type attack. Then the previous evolution, the Growlithe, Growl, which is a little bit closer to like a dragon tail attack, or I forget exactly which one that is, the one that switches the Pokemon, but you have a gusting or a dragon tail effect where you can have your opponent choose one of their bench Pokemon to switch, which could be a possible setup for that Wild Charge attack or the Flare Blitz, depending on what um, the opponent brings out onto their active position. And on the Growlithe, all these attacks are paid for by only colorless energy, so you can use whichever kind of energy you want. Then we have a possible support, but also could be an attacker as well. That's the Nathaniel's Houndoom line. And the text on this one is really hard to read, but the Firestorm Pokemon power happens upon evolution. So when you play Nathaniel's Houndoom from your hand to evolve Nathaniel's Houndour, you search your discard pile for 3 fire energy, and then you can attach those to a benched Pokemon of your choosing. So you can't use it to power up your active Pokemon, but it can set up a secondary attacker on the bench. And that might sound really strong, and it probably is too strong, but I like the idea of having a lot of strong and overpowered powers and attacks, and then just seeing how they balance themselves out. Because again, remember, we can go ahead and just reprint these cards after we've play tested for a while, and then realizing that it is too good or not good enough in order to be competitive with the rest of the metagame. So the attack on Houndoom is Fire Fang, all colorless, but the effect says that if there are no darkness type energies attached to Houndoom, the attack does 40 damage instead of the 70. So that 70 is contingent upon having a darkness energy. And we are using the darkness energy from the Neo era. So the effect on that is still that 10 damage is given if it's not a dark Pokemon or a darkness type Pokemon. And also it gives an extra boost. So you could possibly do 70 plus 40 more if you had all 4 darkness type energy in your deck attached to Nathaniel's Houndoom. So then we've got 2 more support Pokemon. The first one is Nathaniel's Ho-Oh. If you saw my earlier video that showcased how to do the print setup and putting the first edition logo and the set symbol on there, you would have seen Nathaniel's Ho-Oh. I can't remember if I edited the attacks at all or not, but the Firestarter attack has you looking at the top 7 cards of your deck, and then you can take all of the fire energy cards and put them into your hand, and then you discard the rest of the cards. So one way to play this deck is to fill it with a whole bunch of fire energy in order to utilize this as an attack over and over again to set up your bench. And once you have your probably Nathaniel's Charizard or your Nathaniel's Arcanine knocked out once or twice, using the evolution of Houndoom to get that energy back out of the discard pile and onto a secondary attacker. So that could be potentially really strong, or it could be too slow. Again, haven't play tested these yet, so I'm excited to see how exactly this works. And then the bottom attack does 100 damage, Fire Blast, discard a fire energy in order to use this attack, and Ho-Oh also does 30 damage to itself. So hopefully that will balance that a little bit. And then the last Pokemon in this lineup is Nathaniel's Moltres, which is very similar to the Fossil Moltres with the Wildfire attack that discards any number of basic fire cards, although this time it's from your hand. You're not discarding them from being attached to Moltres. So Ho-Oh and Moltres here actually work in tandem really well with each other. If you can picture a scenario where you've got Nathaniel's Ho-Oh using Firestarter over and over again, lots of fire energy in your hand, you don't attach too many of them, because if you're drawing them over and over turn after turn, and then you either retreat or Ho-Oh gets knocked out, and then Moltres can clean up with a Wildfire when you've got your hand chock full of fire energy. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, how that works. If it will be better to go for the Nathaniel's Charizard Flare Blitz and Rage attacks, or if it would be better to actually use the Ho-Oh into Moltres strategy. So looking forward to that. Those are the Pokemon. Now on to the trainer cards, excuse me, I bumped the mic a little bit. Let me fix that here. So we've got a bunch of real life cards that we're going to use just for now until I come up with my own versions of these. The first one is Energy Charge. Energy Charge has you flipping a coin, and if it's heads, you get to take 2 energy cards from your discard pile and put them back into your deck. And I'll tell you right now that there are multiple types of special energy. We already mentioned darkness, but there are 2 others, one that I created myself. You'll see that here in just a second. So that's, of course, a good way to get back the darkness type energy if you would like to use Houndour's attack that requires you to have darkness in order to utilize its ability to the fullest. Then we've got Devolution Spray or Hyper Devolution Spray. You can use these in any combination. You could have 2 and 2, you could have 0 and 4, or 4 and 0 of these. The idea here is to be able to reuse the effect on Houndoom, to be able to play that and draw the energy back from your discard pile and put them into your hand directly, rather than having to flip a coin and then using the energy charge to put them back into your deck, because then you need to either search for them or draw into them. By devolving into Houndour and then evolving back into Houndoom, you can accelerate that process. Then we've got the supporter card that I made up, Nathaniel's coaching style. He's a basketball coach for his school, so we've got the scoreboard from one of their games here. And this card is incomplete because I haven't decided which way I want this to work yet. So think similarly to Boss's Way, where you search through your deck for an evolution card. So it's not Rocket or Dark here. Now it's got Nathaniel in its name. So any of the cards in this deck would be able to be searched as long as it's an evolution card. And you can take that, and I don't know if I want this to be able to forego the evolution rule. So if you are using this on one of the first turns, if you would be able to draw it out of your deck and then play it as an evolution and break that evolution rule. So you play a card, you're not supposed to be able to evolve it yet, but with this card you actually can. Or if it's just take that card and you have to put it in your hand and then wait until you would actually be able to evolve that card. So that's that one. Then, very basic, you've got the Iowa Hawkeyes fight song. Nathaniel's Pokemon really enjoy that song as well as he does, so they get extra excited and do 10 more damage. And this card remains in play for 3 turns, I believe. Nope, it says 5 turns. So we'll say that it's in play for 5 turns. So think you have a plus power active for 5 turns and you don't have to discard it. And you can only have one of these active at a time, although you can have 4 of them in your deck, so you could potentially get 20 turns, although I don't remember a single Pokemon card game that I've ever played that has lasted for that many turns. Thankfully, I didn't play against too many early stall decks, so you can have up to 20, possibly, although if you play Item Finder and bring this card back into your hand, you could possibly get more out of it. Although I think with Item Finder, I'm going to put in a rule that you can't get back non-item cards. So like the Devolution Spray and Hyper Devolution Spray would have to be classified as item cards instead of just base trainer cards. So that would be an adjustment. I think that would be necessary. Then you've got the option to play Double Gust. Double Gust is the real life card. If you and your opponent have bench Pokemon, each of you chooses one to switch, and you get to pick your own that gets switched into the active spot. Excuse me, I bumped the microphone again. Sorry about that. And then the Pokemon tool card, Nathaniel's Sweatband. So this would protect from any status conditions, special counter, or weather effect. I haven't showcased the weather effects yet, but that is another thing that I've added to the game. And those effects are straight from the video game, although it's not a one-to-one correlation, but those things affect different types differently. So toxic spikes would not affect Pokemon that are the poison type. Um, um, Rocks would affect flying types and fire types and ice types. Uh, in a particular way, they would do X amount of damage. If there is a ground or rock or steel type Pokemon, that would not do as much damage or possibly do no damage. But Nathaniel's Pokemon are all fire types, so they would take damage from the weather effects and field hazards that um, uh, so toxic spikes, regular spikes, rocks, the weather effect of um, shoot, now I can't think of it. The one that sandstream. So the sandy weather. And those are the trainer cards. Then for the energy, of course, we've got fire energy, and I really enjoy the Magic Set Editor versions of different types of energy that you can make. You've got all sorts of combinations that you can do. So here's some of the E-card, E-series energies that you can make. You've got this one right here, and then this one from the, let's see if I can make it focus on it here. This one is from, it has the Heart Gold Soul Silver little feathered edges, so the yellow around the border is a little bit different, but this one almost makes it like a pill shape in the background. So all these are really cool. But of course, you've got the fire type energy for your regular attacks. Then your darkness energy that does 10 damage to the Pokemon that it's attached to between turns, unless it is a dark type or darkness type of Pokemon. So the Houndoom would be utilizing this to make sure that it does all 70 damage plus the 10 extra for having this attached, and that could be possibly really devastating. Then the real life card Recycle Energy with all the colorless attack costs that are included in these cards. You'd be able to utilize this to its fullest effect, and rather than having to draw back into these, you would simply get it recycled, put back into your hand, instead of having to try to fish it out of your discard pile. And then one that I created for Nathaniel, so that's him sitting on the bench as he's coaching. So his coaching energy looks like it's real calm and collected, but what this card does is it allows for no, here, let me pull that closer. I forget exactly what this does. So it provides every type of energy. It's a rainbow type energy. It needs to have Nathaniel in its name. Oh, okay. So I took the effect off of this card, so it does just function as a rainbow energy if it's got Nathaniel in its name. I thought I had done something with like protecting it from special effects or status conditions, but then I think I took that off of this card and put it onto the headband. So that's where that effect ended up. But the nice thing about this is it doesn't do damage to the Pokemon that it's attached to. So the real life rainbow energy, you have to put a damage counter on your Pokemon in order to use it. Excuse me. But that is not the case with this particular rainbow energy. So that is the deck profile. I will do a deck profile for another deck that I'm creating for a different friend of mine whose name is Nathan. So we'll have a Nathan versus Nathaniel showcase for the very first live battle that will take place on this channel, so I'm excited for him. I'm excited to show you guys those cards once I get them printed out, cut, and sleeved up, and then after that we'll do a battle. So if you guys are enjoying what I'm doing, making custom format and custom cards, subscribe, like the video, share it with a friend that likes old Pokemon and maybe has gotten out of it or enjoyed a particular time of the Pokemon TCG. So if you do that, I would really appreciate it. I'm excited to continue this journey along with you guys. So comment any questions or any suggestions that you have for cards or card types or deck combinations, anything like that. That would also be really appreciated. So until next time, we'll see you.